Damn, and Genius made the beat? Yo, welcome to another episode of the Coach Life Podcast Radio. I'm, of course, your host, the Prince of Positivity, Coach Steve. Join with me, as always, my co-pilot, Coach Luna. Dime Dropper, how we doing, Brody?
Blessed, man. Always excited to go ahead and drop some more gems. I know y'all call me the dime dropper, so I'm hoping that some dimes will drop again today.
Bro, you have lost probably about $38 from the pre-show that we just had, sir. So I'm pretty sure you got some extra gems in there. Unless you only brought $40 with you, then it might be a short show. CEO, founder of the Coach Life Podcast and brand about building your brand. Coach Wash, how we doing, Brody?
Man, bless as usual. Be supposed to.
100% agreed. And this is a little bit different from our norm, right? Just a tad, just a tad. We typically have a topic that we drop on you guys and kind of riff, on a particular topic. Um, this one definitely came or very organically, like most of our topics do. This one definitely came very organically, where we had a bomb pre-show, and Coach Luna kind of alluded to a reason behind our topic today. And before we get into the topic, before we get into what Coach Luna said, our topic for today is the power in testimony. There's something to be said about giving that testimony when something goes right or goes the way that he wants it to go. Not the way we want it to go, but the way he wants it to go. So it's something to be said about that. And as we were talking about, you know, giving that testimony and being a witness and stepping up and actually, saying what needs to be said to everybody so that they can start getting on that same boat. There was a very enlightening comment that was made by Coach Luna that we definitely have to dissect a little bit. Coach Luna, can you please tell our fans out there today what that enlightening few minutes that you gave us was? That
Yeah,
$38 worth of info that you gave us?
yeah, man, I got you. So, as I told y'all, man, I was thinking about the topic that we were going to discuss, and it dawned upon me as I was listening to a sermon by Philip Mitchell, and I thought about it. And if you read the New Testament and you study it, the good news wasn't supposed to get out. And what do I mean by that? Well, every person that shared their testimony, um, wrote about their testimony or wrote about their belief and seen and talked about the things that they talked about, they were heavily persecuted, to the point where they were basically being told, hey, stop believing what you're thinking, stop saying what you're saying, or we're going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And these men and women believed so much in what they saw that they were willing to die for it. And when I say it wasn't supposed to get out, I'm meaning in the sense of what the enemy wanted, what they wanted, what the people that persecuted those people wanted. Um, this wasn't supposed to get out. That's why it's called the good news. It was that
Mm-hmm.
special delivery. And with that, fast forward to where we are now, it is the most heavily scrutinized text that has lasted over 2,000 plus years. And we still talk about what these people, what they saw with their eyes, what they heard with their ears, what they spoke, what they felt, what they believe in their whole being. And there's something that's so powerful about that, because again, it wasn't supposed to be heard. It was something that God ordained, no matter what humans can try to do, that this is going to get out. And these people believed so much in what God was telling them that they were, hey, no matter what happens here, we have to go ahead and write about these things. We have to go ahead and talk about these things. We have to go ahead and put these things in these vases and hide them in these caves for thousands of years, in which we call now the Dead Sea Scrolls. We have to write these things down. Why? Because the prolonging of this word is going to go and affect the faith of those people hundreds and thousands of years from now. And here we are today. I love studying biblical archaeology
Mhm.
because it provides evidence for us human minds that naturally always have doubt. And if you're one who has doubt, you need evidence, you need concrete evidence. But when the evidence is out there and you study what these manuscripts and what was written on these manuscripts thousands of years, and why certain verses survived that literally prophesy the whole New Testament, it gives so much more meaning to the testimonies of these people, on top of the things that they had to go through for this, for me to be able to receive this word in the day and age of what we're at now. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
These people were yearning and dying, bro. They were trying to just touch the garment of Jesus in these times. Like, if I can just be anywhere close to where he can even just make eye contact with me. They knew these things. They yearned for it. You know what I'm saying? So the testimony is, man, I don't think there's anything more important as human to human relationship that we can do besides introducing, Jesus and God, and introducing that relationship. I think the second most important part, man, besides loving your neighbor, it's sharing his testimony. And one could say that sharing your testimony is an example of loving thy neighbor.
I think it is. And it's funny, as you talk about, you know, the massive responsibility that was put on everyone that took part in writing the Bible collectively, right? You think about, then I asked the question, it makes you thinking at least, what would happen if they didn't have the courage to actually stand up and actually write what they were writing? What would have happened if they just said, you know what, I'm too scared to share my testimony or what I've seen and what I've witnessed? If they were too scared to do that, where would we be today?
Well, coach, this is my thing. I don't think God would have chosen them.
Absolutely. And that's it's funny because it's funny that you said that because I said that for a reason. That is the reason why it was put on those individuals, because the responsibility is heavy. I want to kind of go into something that kind of ties into this, coach. And it's funny, man, thank you, God. One of the things that I saw a couple weeks ago, and saw this on Instagram, and I wish I could remember the pastor's name so I can give him credit. If I find it, I will definitely make sure to link it in the bio for this pod. One of the things that was said was, have you ever believed like wholeheartedly in a dream or wholeheartedly in something that you fully solely believed in? We're not talking about religion, right? I'm talking about a football, uh mixed martial arts, whatever it may be, right? Just did you have something that you fully solely believed in, like nobody could shake you off of that? This is I solely believe in this. if you ever had that type of feeling or that type of situation where you fully believe in something, somebody else from the outside telling you anything differently about it, what does that do for you? Coach Wash, what did that do for you if somebody came from the outside telling you something where you were goal focused on what it is that you needed to get taken care of?
You're asking me how would I feel?
Hmm. How did that make you feel when someone would try to like, perfect example. We all know, and everybody that's listened to this pod knows that you're the maestro. Music is definitely in your blood, bro. It's been in your blood since day one. Since the day
Yeah.
you came out of the womb, bro. It's been in your blood. If someone told you that, oh, that's never gonna do anything for you, that's, music's never gonna do anything for you, that's just a, that's a hobby, that's not a real love. Like, how would you take that conversation from somebody?
Well, you know, I always say you know what you know. I'm
Hmm.
not. I think you get to a point where belief in something turns into I know. And if y'all follow the pod, anytime I tell the story about my car accident, I talk about my struggles through the recovery, but there was a point where even with that, I knew I would be all right.
There was a
Even when
goal.
there was a goal, even when it looked like yeah, you barely gonna be able to, you might not keep the leg, whatever the case,
Hmm.
at all different points, there were different challenges. And, you know, I had I had struggles with the recovery, struggles with my faith, but it always kind of just sat in me that I knew. I
It
knew.
was
So
there.
yeah, so same thing with like the music. I think anything that God gives you, you get to a point where you can't really be rattled.
Hmm.
If somebody tells you otherwise, because it's ingrained in you. Um, I think times get rough and you get tested. What God gives you and is ingrained and built into you, it won't easily be rattled.
Right. Can't take that away from somebody
You can't,
where
you can't, you
it's
can't take it
God
away
given.
from me. You can say what you want. You can bash my art. You can bash anything I put out here, but I never stop.
Right.
I never stop.
I asked that question, guys, for one big reason, and there's a determination. There's a goal that has to be accomplished, and almost like a by any means necessary type goal, right? This has to happen. The word has to get out there. And when I asked the question, like with those, like what would happen if those individuals were scared to get that information out there? And Luna, you hit the nail on the head. You were like, they wouldn't have been chosen. That's the whole thing right there. They were chosen for that purpose to do that job. And what I had saw on Instagram was someone that made the comment of, if God loved his people, then why did we have, famines, and why did he have, the flood, and killed all these people, so on and so forth. The pastor that answered that question, and again, I hope I don't butcher this, but the way that he answered this question was probably the best way you can answer this, is that there was a purpose and a reason behind that. God chose certain individuals because those individuals did not have a tainted bloodline. If you were going to succumb to someone telling you that, you shouldn't be building that ark, what you out here building that ark for, bro? Like, that doesn't even make sense. There's ain't even water over here. Like, why are you doing that? Like, why? Like, this voice out of the sky told you need to do something. What are you doing right now? If Noah said, yeah, that does sound a little strange. That's the world. It's over with. That's everybody at that point. He chose the right individual to move forward to make sure that the bloodline of Jesus actually happened. If you go back and look at the Bible, it's funny because like as you when you start getting back into the Bible and you start piecing together all the stories and you start like really understanding everything, and you might go through the Bible and end up like questioning God. But if you go back through it and look at it from his perspective, like by any means necessary, this has to happen. There's no reason that like I can't not have this happen. This has to happen this way. You start really seeing the power behind stepping up and behind people stepping up and making sure that, the people that were persecuted, the people that were, crucified, the people that were, that were hung and stoned and for giving these testimonies. Like people died to give that testimony. It's only right that us in this day and age, in this time, give that testimony. We without that, that hanging over our heads that, we're going to be persecuted, so on and so forth. You're going to be persecuted no matter what you do. And it's like you said, Coach Wash, if it's ingrained in you, you're not going to care anymore. You start to have a different way to walk and move.
Yeah, everybody, I listen to so many things, and it's crazy with like social media, and I just think about where I'm at right now spiritually. And Steve, you asking me, we check in, we do the SMP, spiritual, mental, physical. My number's been high lately. My lowest number has been physical lately. And most people would say I'm not in bad shape. I just have a high standard for myself, higher
Right.
than most.
Right.
So my regular routine to most be like, I wish I could do that, but I'm not finna lower it for nobody. It is what it is. I know what I can do. But I honestly say I've been sitting in a 9.5. I can't give myself a 10 ever in that area though. I don't think I could ever give myself a 10 because I'm always hungry and it's always more to learn. But we are built for certain things. We are built for certain things. I had an interesting conversation with my brother. He's talking about, do you believe in destiny, that things are predestined? And some people confuse that with like, how do you have free will if you predestined for certain things? Well, you predestined, you still have free will, but you predestined based on what was put inside of you. Here's a perfect example. You probably still gonna end up coming back home anyway. You can't run from it. That's where the predestined destination comes from. But if you look at somebody like the story of Jonah, where he tried to run away from his assignment, and God had a whale swallow him up and put him on timeout, and a
Yep.
whale him out, right? He was built for a certain thing. He eventually came back around and did it after that timeout.
Took the long route.
Yeah, he took the long route. But we're all given gifts, and we're all built for certain tasks. Noah built the ark. Sure, there was some other carpenters, but they weren't built like him.
Mhm.
They didn't believe like him. They weren't gonna listen like him, right? Abram didn't question God when he told him, "Hey, take your boy up over to the mountain over here, take Isaac over here, and we need the sacrifice."
Put the axe to him.
Yeah,
And then
he
had
was
the angel
Okay.
pop up and say, "No, we were just seeing if you were
he was
going."
just seeing if you was gonna do it, unless you're gonna do it.
Right. Exactly.
So
Right.
he took him and he went all the way there. God had to stop him at the swing, boy. He had to Abram, yo, my guy. Hey.
Mhm.
Appreciate it. But
I
you good.
I just want to make sure you was listening and checked all the way in. Go on, let the young fella up. Now this is
Because
what I really need you to do.
you know
Exactly.
You know what's funny now? We're talking characters. Who wrote majority of the Old Testament?
It's Genesis.
No, I'm saying who wrote it?
Oh, a majority of it.
Moses.
Moses.
Right.
From
What
his
was Moses
perspective,
known?
right?
What was Moses known for? What was his deficiency? What was his
He
uh
wasn't a big speaker.
Yeah, we've
you
referenced
catch you
that.
catch what do you catch where I'm going with
Oh,
that?
I caught what you put down, brother.
That
He wasn't a speaker.
you you really think about that. Oh, man, God does such a great we don't we can't grasp the human mind can't grasp the concepts that God loves to use or the people that he loves to use. We can't grasp why he chooses those people because we attach worth to works.
Mhm.
So we think that someone that would have wrote these things and said these things about testimony would have came from someone who speaks very
Well
well,
versed.
who is very well versed.
Articulates himself well. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And the same exact thing we think about the 12 disciples. We would have thought that these people were perfect. They were no
Pristine.
blemishes.
Mhm.
They were literally a direct reflection of Jesus. When in reality, they were the complete opposites. And it's something that you always say, Wash, that it sticks with me. It's, when it's on you, right?
Mhm.
And it's in you. And the power of testimony is recognizing that power and doing what you don't believe you're capable of. Because what you don't feel you're capable of, God is saying, I'm more than capable than you think. And I'm going to make your deficiency your strength.
Yeah.
I'm going to make the thing that you think is so bad, I'm going to make it the shining light. And when you think about that, bro, there's so many examples within the book, bro. And it's just like, how? My brain on how I attach value to people. And that's not just me. I'm talking about from a human aspect, from the way we live and the way our social values and the dogmas and everything that society has put in our brain. Um, how we attach these things. We can't rationalize why these people were chosen. And when you understand the beauty in that, gives you so much more ability to have grace and gratitude because where I was the most lost is where he seen me as
Ready.
the most ready. And it's like, son, it's just like, it's like when you first take the training wheels off the bike and, and you pedaling, you get so excited about the pedaling, man. And that front wheel get to wobbling and bam, boom. First time I fell off my bike, I don't know about y'all, but I skinned my stomach and I still have a scar on my stomach. But my stepfather, my dad was right there to pick me up. And, the journey is so identical to that emotion, that elateness of nothing else matters right now. And it's the same thing that can happen when we get lost. Nothing else matters right now but me pedaling this bike. But then that reality hits. And he's like right there, like, hey, get up,
Mhm.
wipe it off. You good?
Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Man.
But this time, go this way.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's crazy with what you said. He now I gotta loop back in. I gotta bring us back in. We're gonna get right back to Luna because I feel like it's a good time to make him recap some stuff we discussed pre-show. He always brings people in at the right time to do a job, to get you through a certain task or get you to a place where you need to be. And you gotta recognize when this guy talking about Moses, then I gotta throw it back to Luna because I'm gonna lead him right back into a story he already told us so y'all can hear it. Who did Moses have, which we did talked about before?
Aaron.
God was like, man, you worry about speaking. Look, man. Hey, look. Aaron gonna help you out, dog. You ain't getting out of this though. So when you can't say it, Aaron gonna talk in front of the people. You gonna still do something too, but here's your partner for the presentation.
Right.
Here your boy. All right, we good? You done trying to dodge work that you ain't gonna be able to dodge? Are we finished here?
He
Don't
lined
I'm,
this
answer.
I'm,
back up for you.
We are.
what's your next excuse?
He's right,
Right.
right.
What you want?
You having problems walking? Here's a
Look,
sandal.
man, take this, matter of fact, take this ride. It's gonna turn into a snake.
Right.
All right. Don't
Matter of
matter
fact,
what
go
other
pick up that
snakes you
snake, and then it's gonna
it,
turn into a rock.
it's gonna turn back into a rod. Just grab by the
Right.
tail. I
Right.
got you.
Don't
Stop
worry,
complaining.
we got you.
Stop it. So, man, speaking of testimonies, what's a man? We got so many situations where we get delivered the perfect helpmate or partner or associate, whatever you want to call, who's coming into your life. What that look like?
So the story
Mm.
that I just shared with y'all, like in pre-show, recently my wife and I we finally just signed off on our next place to stay, right? And
Hey,
then the
hey.
way, yeah, appreciate it, man. And the way that it occurred, with whom it occurred, was again, I don't believe in coincidences because coincidences means that you don't believe in the divine plan.
No lack of
And you
faith.
chalk it up and you just chalk it up to chance, which I can't be a person of faith and believe that. But anyway, so my wife and I we're planning to go see a property, and we end up having to call this property to set up a visit to go see, to go see the house. And when we call, the person who answers the call isn't the person that's listed on the listing for this house. So we end up having to go through this loophole of the lady basically saying, "Hey, y'all have to fill out this paperwork for us to come see this house, yada yada yada." And my wife and I were like, "They kind of asking too much. Like, this don't, this don't seem right." So my wife reaches out to her mother, asks her about this whole thing, and she was like, "Well, I mean, the realtor's doing it by the book, like based off the new laws and bylaws and all this other stuff. Like they need that because of representation and all this other stuff." But she said, "But you can basically make a contract for as long as you want or need." So obviously, we're like, "Well, we want to go see this house, so we're just going to do it for 24 hours." So the next day, we end up going to meet this realtor. And as we're meeting the realtor, she introduces herself, and her name was Mary Beth. And anybody who has any type, I love names because I feel like our names that were given to us is an example of how God wants to use us in this life. It's like a precept, but we'll dive into that later, maybe. But her name was Mary Beth, and if anybody knows anything biblical, it's Mary of Bethlehem, right? So I'm like, God, okay, I hear you. And as she's talking and introducing herself, she also says that she used to be a educator. I'm like, well, I'm an educator. Not only was she an educator, she was also a PE teacher. I'm like,
Look at the
that's
three box checked.
That's literally the space that I'm currently in. And as we're visiting the house and everything, she starts talking about um across the street from this neighborhood that we're in, her son is in ministry, and her son and his wife are in ministry, and they are involved with the church that's literally right across the street from this complex. And I'm like, okay, so Mary Beth, the realtor, who's a former teacher coach, has decided to also bring up God into this situation that normally people don't bring in religion or any type of anything like that, spirituality, into the process of selling a home, right? So as she's, talking about the house and basically like, just talking to us as the 2 year married couple, where we're at in our relationship, it almost came off like if she was like she was coming up with motherly advice on things to look for, things to look out for, things to be mindful of, things to be watchful for within the community, the house, things like that, that my wife and I probably would have overlooked if she didn't really just kind of like gave us that extra step. So we're like, well, she explains this process to us about this 1 day contract. She was like, I mean, my wife and I, we talk about it. We're like, man, let's just go ahead and let's do a week. Let's just see what happens, right? So we get home that night and we get back on the app because we were like, the house was cool, living room was too small. So we end up finding a house that night. We send it to her. The very next day, she was able to get the keys and the code for us to go and see the house. We go and see the house, and it was like, you know, what was it? Which one is the one with the slipper? Disney with the
Cinderella.
Cinderella.
Yes.
It was like
Yeah.
the perfect fit, right? It's literally checked every box that we were looking for.
Hmm.
And I looked at my wife and I was like, yo, that's the one right there. It literally had everything that we were looking for.
That's the
And it was, and like I told y'all, man, it's so divine, man. It was just like Mary Beth. At all names you could, at all, I've never met a Mary Beth in my whole life. Not Mary, middle name Beth. Mary Beth. I was like, bro, thank you.
Yes, Lord.
Thank you. Like small testimonies like that. Small testimonies like that.
I can't afford a house. I'm not gonna be
Ex-
able to get a house.
it
I'm not gonna be.
exercises what it means to have mustard like faith and childlike faith.
Mm-hmm.
Because someone could say, bro, that's just childish. Why did you child? No, 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 no. God don't make
You
mistakes and
weren't
God
listening.
doesn't make nothing. And that's what he pulled up to Job. He was like, nothing that I do is by mistake. Matter of fact, Job, since you want to go ahead and start questioning me, let me go ahead and show you everything that goes on within everything, how the CO2, how the trees work, how the fish, how everything that you don't see
Mm-hmm.
is giving you this current life that you're going ahead and start questioning.
Mm-hmm.
How dare you? You don't understand. So I can't wrap my head around not believing that there's a divine purpose or a divine driven reason for everything.
It's kind
But
of
you
what
know,
Coach Wash said too. Like you just walk that way when you are in that deep end of faith. When you are in, and I want to specify that too because I feel like there's times in which we are in that deep end, and then sometimes we try to walk our way back to that shallow end because something didn't work out in our favor. Something didn't pan out the way we thought it should have panned out.
Coach, I
or
was that.
the world gets to you. that serpent still be hanging in a tree talking to you too, more so than
Well,
things not going your way.
Coach, it was that what you just mentioned is what he warned us about being lukewarm.
Mm-hmm.
And for years, man, you know, I I was extremely lukewarm, bro. And you know, I've told you guys this is the most unapologetic I've been and felt okay with in a very long time. And it's funny, man, we're just gonna have this conversation again. It's funny because we had dinner this past weekend with my best friend. We went to go visit him in Nashville, and um, his girlfriend asked him a question and was like, "Are you surprised at how Luna is now?" And he told her, "No, not at all. This is how he's. This is how I always known him." And my wife asked me, "How did I feel when I heard that?" And I said, "Babe, we just had this conversation last Friday. I finally feel like the person that I was on the path of being early. And then when I got into college and started tasting a little bit of success and a little bit of feeling the blessings, and I started looking at my circumstances as I wasn't looking at it as a gift. I was looking at it as this was supposed to happen because I'm working hard, right? And when that started happening, that's where that spiritual arrogance that I told y'all about, that I'm covered because I believe.
The
And
warfare.
and I and I and I ventured so far away that yeah, I'd pray every night before I went to bed, but that was as good as it was gonna get. That's as good as it was gonna get. Yeah, I would set that reminder on my Bible app to send me a verse at 7:01 a.m. Sometimes I read it, sometimes I wouldn't. I wouldn't feel anything, whether I did or did not. I would go to church sometimes, sometimes I wouldn't. I didn't feel like it. And again, man, the stories that I've talked to y'all about those deep dark feelings that I had, those dreams that I've had, those encounters that I had, those it all came crashing down eventually, and it hit me at a point I was my lowest, man, and it was just like, Lord, where am I failing you? And not only am I failing you, I'm failing my failure is a residual effect and it's affecting others. And I don't see it. Why don't I see it? Because I'm bringing them along with me. And, you know, the, the, the path of destruction, you don't even know that you're bringing people with you
Mm-hmm.
because you mask it in the form of fun, pleasure, whatever the case may be, you mask it that way. So, of course, you don't feel guilty. Of course, you don't feel bad. And it wasn't until, like I told y'all, man, I had to incrementally every single day do something um, that would help me. The self help books kind of started, but as this was the thing, cause this is how man, this is how good God is. As I'm reading these self help books, I'm also listening, and I'm trying to do at least one chapter a day of God's word, right? So as I'm reading these self help books, and it was funny, it was a particular book. I can't remember exactly which one, but I was also in the book of Proverbs at the same time. And I'm like, I'm over here like, bro, again, bro, my mind never stops racing. I'm like, bro, these people are making thousands, hundreds, selling millions of copies, literally rewriting Proverbs and rewriting all these different Bible verses and saying it different ways. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
hold on.
Writer, I'm a writer.
Yeah. And it was just like, it brought me back home. Even it brought me wanting to go get back into his word
Even
even
more.
more. I'm like, bro, these self-help books that is the self-help book. That is the
Right.
manual. That is the
Yeah.
source. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been here forever, and it's still here, and I still have access to it. And as I continued to like dive in, man, it was like my prayer started changing
Mm-hmm.
because I started recognizing that I'm not in control of none of these things.
What was worth praying for?
Man,
You figured out what was really worth praying for and not what you were originally praying for. Uh,
I
uh,
was
the direction changed.
like, God ain't a genie, but God can rescue me. And what do I need rescue from? And when I started praying, like open hands, like, Lord, please take it from me because my way sucks. My way of trying to get rid of these things has always continued to lead me back into this pitfall. It's led me continue to still have these behaviors and feel this resentment, and then I go back.
Mm.
No. I can't do this anymore. I'm tired of grappling that inner battle. Take it from me. And then you'd be surprised how, man, I tell my wife all the time, like, this is so wild to me. Like 7 months ago, 8 months ago, 10 months ago, I feel like a complete different human. My behavior, everything is so much different. And
You
it's
know what?
literally, go ahead, cuz.
I was gonna say, you know what the what and this is from outside looking in, right? This is outside looking in because anybody that follows the pod knows that Coach Luna was on episode 3 of the Coach Life podcast when we first started. When I first met Coach Luna, I thought we were just having another coach on. After the first 10 minutes of the pre-show to just kind of get, introduced to each other, kind of learn each other, it was very apparent that there's something here. I didn't know what it was. Coach Wash didn't know what it was, but there's something here. The Coach Luna that I spoke to a year ago is vastly different. And I can't even, and saying vastly different is an understatement to the Coach Luna that we have today. And there's a key underlying fact in why you are that person. You've shared testimony after testimony after testimony after testimony after testimony. It's been consistent. You go back and listen to all of our podcasts, there's been a testimony that you have shared in some way, shape, or form. And it's been able to hopefully help at least one person. I know it's definitely helped us look at things a lot differently. Can tell you and Coach Wash are a massive reason why I got back into the Bible. Why I had to start refreshing myself. I had a Bible app. I did the same thing, Coach Luna. The exact same thing. Got this alarm set because if I set the alarm, I know that I'm gonna do it because I set the alarm, right?
It's so easy to just swipe up.
Man, it's so easy, especially when somebody else is calling you at 7 o'clock in the morning. And all of a sudden now it went from I'll get to it at 9. So I'll get to it at 11. So I'll get to it at 1. So I get to it at 3. So I
Then
get
I
to it
never
at
got to.
5. And now it's 9, 10 o'clock at night. And I never got to it.
Yeah, I'm tired now.
The excuses, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then when you run into your problem, where's the excuses then? Because now you're raising your hand saying you need the help. And it's super important to know where that help comes from, but it's also super important to know why that help came.
Yeah.
Coaches, I'm I'm grateful that you said what you said, because like I said, bro, I'm very open when it comes to talking about things like this. Um, One, because someone's testimony helped me.
There it
And
is.
I can't sit here and pinpoint anyone in particular. It's it's just evident, bro. You know, you can feel genuineness. You can
Mm-hmm.
feel grace. You can feel someone that you can see them scars, bro.
You
You
can
can
see,
see,
yep,
you can
totally.
see and feel that that once pain or once anger or once addicted turn into a whole different human. You could see it in their eyes. You can hear it in their voice. You can and bro,
You can feel it.
Russell Brand said this the other day, man. And anybody who knows Russell Brand and knows how he was prior to him just recently converting to Christianity, you know, dude practiced Buddhism, Hinduism, like all the isms, right? And he said this the other day, and it kind of stuck with me. It was like, this is a living God that we believe in. And he was like, how do I know he's a living God? Because I can feel his presence and I can sense his presence in everyone that I have interaction with. In all other isms, there were practices that I had to do. There were things that I had to accomplish. There were things that I had to consume to get myself to feel a certain way, whether it may be a mushroom or whatever the case may be. There were things that were prerequisites for me to have to get to feel this way. When within having a relationship with Jesus is the complete opposite. You literally have to have a relationship.
That's it.
And what does that mean? It's the same exact principles of a relationship. Man, my wife has taught me so much about um, relationships, because she was very big on me. And I thought about this again today. I was like, man, God was talking to me through her again, because she was always big on, you know, one, me, you know, fixing some of these behaviors, but she was also big on like, hey, I hear you, but I don't see you. I hear you, but you're not showing me nothing.
Mhm.
And God and our relationship with God needs to be the exact same way. So many people, all of us say we believe. Show it. How do you show it? This is one way. How do you show it? Through grace, how you treat other people. How else do you show it?
Hearing that testimony.
Listening to people,
Mm-hmm.
helping, being a servant. There's so many ways of doing it, but that's a
We,
relationship, bro. That means you spend time. There's time there too. You know, like I told you, how to, like Nipsey said, how do you spell love? He said Time. It's the same principle, man. Like when you
mm,
understand the true essence of love, love is a verb, and then it requires an action.
action. Yep.
So how can I love God if my actions aren't aligning? And you know, it's not perfect overnight. It's not going to be. But you know, one running, if we're both running in the same path, we're gonna get connected way quicker than him running and I'm running the other way. Because he's always pursuing. It's the same thing we talked about with the picture, with God's finger fully outstretched and leaning completely, while man's finger is reluctant. It's the same
Oh
exact principle.
no. Oh no. I mean, there's no greater testimony than you coming back to God after losing But people, that's usually the hardest loss for most people.
Yeah, definitely, bro.
Losing people, and you still give it to God. You still seek God to get through. That's why I love the story of Job so much. Like the magnitude of what he had and to lose it all at once. Like the amount of what he had, uh, people, his assets,
Resources. Yeah.
his resources, like to go imagine being a billionaire today and going to zero tomorrow
That's what happened.
and losing the family you had with it.
Yep.
Everybody you had in your will for the money, they gone too.
Somebody's gonna say that God gave up on me.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say how much of that is because we attach our concept of um we
Or
attach God to people,
worldly
Mm.
possessions to
right?
stuff here.
So we attach that. So when we lose them, our attachment also goes away. And I
Mhm.
think that's a big reason why um like you said, like a lot of people have that big test of faith, and that's one of the biggest reasons why they lose faith.
Yeah.
You know,
I
And
think that
what a testimony is it to have if you don't show that you lost your faith?
man,
What a
that's
testimony is that
man.
if it's stronger after the loss?
I
What
just
a
was about to say
mm,
that, man.
what a testimony if you get more back after. Now, Matt, you can't replace people, but if your faith is truly there, you're gonna see them again.
You're gonna have a sense of peace
You're
that's
gonna have a
different
sense of peace.
than other people would have.
When God is centered in your life, those losses don't hit the same as they do when God is not centered in your life.
I'm gonna tell you something, bro. And this is, um, I hope you don't mind me telling this story really quick, but I'll keep it brief. Um, one of my aunts, and again, everybody's had a death in the family, but one of my aunts, my auntie Brenda, she passed away a couple years ago, and that was a hard, really, really hard hit on the family, and it was a really hard hit on my cousins. One of my cousins in particular, me and him are like brothers. Like Coach Wash, Darius, me and him, thick as thieves.
Hmm.
That's like it's literally like my little brother. Like that's my twin. And I felt his pain when his
Yeah.
mom passed. I felt his pain. I felt how much it hurt. But then I found out how she passed and why she passed the way that she passed. So my aunt had a terminal illness, and it wasn't no turning back. She could have gone and got chemo and gone and done all all that and so on and so forth. She could have did a whole lot of stuff to mitigate the issue, but she didn't want to look like that. She didn't want to feel like that. She's like, I want to go out the way I want to go out. I want to, I don't want to have to go through all of that, and I don't want people to see me like that. I want to go out stepping out on faith, believing in God, and then if this is what He deems fit, and this is what He deems fit. I remember going to that funeral, and the whole day I was on edge the entire day. And we finally got to the funeral. I, I hurt. I couldn't. I can't even describe a word to hurt. Ain't even a good word to say how I was really feeling at that time. Because I felt like at that point I lost a parent. Like my auntie Brenda was literally that close, like to the point where I look at her as almost like a second mom for me. And that's how she treated me. It's exactly how she treated me. She treated me like that was like I was one of hers. And I felt the biggest calm I've ever felt at a funeral. And I've gone to a ton of funerals. I have never had a calm over me like that, where it was like I knew she was okay. I felt she was okay. Like God told me she's okay. I got her now. And just couldn't explain it. I'm just looking around, just watching everybody is like massively heartbroken, rightfully so. It was just peace. And I think there's something to be said about that, where, like you said, Coach Wash, and I know Coach when you said this earlier in the pod, like you said, when you know, you know. When you know the direction, when you know where you're going, when you know that this is how it's supposed to be, there's no more questioning anymore. You just have that sense of peace now. Now it's just the work that needs to be done.
It was just, man, dog. It's funny how this flows. A month ago, about a month ago, September 28th, about a week after my birthday. Might have been before, I can't remember. But anyway, my uncle on my dad's side passed away. God bless his soul. Um, at this funeral, I met my dad's side of the family. And anyone that's followed this pod knows that I don't know my dad. I don't know my dad's side of the family like that at all. I haven't seen my dad since I was 3 or 4 years old. And that peace that you talk about, we're not there to celebrate anything. Bro, I see my aunt that I haven't seen since I was literally 1 years old. I see another aunt, a grandmother that I didn't know I had. I see family members I didn't know I had. And bro, when I seen them, bro, I literally broke down in tears. And all when I was hugging my aunt and she was hugging me and I was crying in her shoulder, she literally was just like, "We're glad you're okay." And bro, like I'm over here 33 years of not knowing these people, 34 because I'm 34. So 34 years of not knowing these people. I'm thinking there's some type of resentment of why I don't know these people. Like, yeah, my dad messed up. He can't come and into this country, but why I don't know y'all? And this whole time it was like, son, you were lost. You were lost. We wanted to find you. You weren't seeking us. And bro, like the correlation that that's had for me was just like, man, I'm legitimately finding family that I never seek for
Mm-hmm.
because I never really truly forgave my dad. I said it, but I never really fully forgave him.
There's still stuff there, still underlying issues there. And and it's something to be said when you know the path and know where you're supposed to go and know how you're supposed to get there. It's it's like having a GPS and you're going on a trip. Yeah, you may know
I,
how to get there, go this direction, go to this, use this expressway, but it's always better when you have a GPS and somebody knows where they're going.
oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I couldn't trade. I can't trade this for nothing, man. It's the beauty of everyone being able to share their testimony, man. We are all in this together.
Facts.
You know,
And
you talked about it earlier, that word, you know, you and I are in one word together, and that's community.
mhm,
And we are one giant community.
when we start understanding that, that's when it becomes dangerous in a good way. In a good
Mm-hmm.
way. When we start understanding that, that's when things become dangerous. I'll give you another really good example of that. I'm working on a very, very ridiculous case right now. I am been stressed to high heaven on this one because it's lengthy and it's heavy and it's probably one of the biggest ones I've had to work. I'm not a lawyer, by the way. I'm an internal auditor for my company, so working on something that is pretty significant. And one of the things that happened this morning, I got a phone call about an issue. As soon as I hung up that phone call, I got another phone call about another issue, and then I got another phone call as soon as I hung that one up about something else that it just transpired. This is all before 8 o'clock. It started 7. This is all for 8 o'clock, and I got a text message. Coach, this is what we talk about, like why it's important to share your testimony, why it's important to share the good stuff, right? I got a text message from one of my dispatchers who told me that they did a training class and they were able to help somebody understand and help a whole department understand how to do their job better, how to, focus better, some tips and tricks on how to be more effective and efficient in their areas. Just the way that she talked about this, the excitement that she had, and just being able to help somebody. Like that's all she was so excited about. Just I got the opportunity to give somebody this, and it was awesome. Like the way that she described it, that turned my entire day around. And she don't even know that. I don't even know it now because I know she listens to the pod. But she has no idea, just hearing that small win turned my entire focus around. I was able to give intention, intentionally be there mentally and physically for another one of our managers because he needed the help. I can guarantee you right now, guys, if I didn't have that conversation prior to, I don't know if I would have been mentally there to handle more of another issue. I don't know if I would have been there. And it's funny because we talked about this on previous pods, and that's the cup, right? How much left in the cup that you have that you're pouring for everybody right now? When you start learning how to get out of your way, you start finding out real quick that somebody is refilling your cup on a regular basis, and it ain't you. And
Yeah.
95% of the time, it ain't other people.
Yeah, there's a serious domino effect with all the people that are placed in our lives, all the interactions we have. And
Mhm.
honestly, we have to understand the gravity and the severity of our responsibility uh, with our testimony. Literally, someone else's blood can be on your hands
By not sharing.
by not sharing. If you, I always say, if you know better, you should do better than you show better.
Mm.
The show better is a big part of why we go through and get through what we get through, why we're built to do so. Because in showing, we are, as Coach just gave an example, uh, we're helping somebody else see another side of something that they don't see. We're
Yep.
speaking life into situations that may appear to be dead to others. And when you withhold, are you a problem?
Yeah, you're doing a disservice.
You're doing a disservice. You're a problem that didn't solve a problem that needed to be solved.
Now you're talking math, bro. The math ain't mathing right now.
it ain't mathing.
Right.
Because you a variable that needs to be revealed in this equation.
Yeah.
God has put you in a position and put you through things, allow certain things to happen for a reason. You're not always gonna understand the why, but that's where faith comes in. That's what
That's
really faith is.
purpose. Yep.
That's purpose. And you have to, as Coach asked me earlier, you have to believe in that. You have to
Mm,
believe that to the point where you can't be rattled or shaken and nobody can tell you otherwise. If you go back to Noah's Ark and actually start painting these pictures in your minds when you go through the word and understand how serious some of these tasks were, think about that ark and go look at the measurements of it and be like, oh, God called Noah,
one guy.
not Noah and company.
Right.
Noah.
Noah Incorporated.
Noah.
Just right. Just him. Just him. All I need is him.
Look at how those measurements translate into today. And they found the area where it was at. And like really grasp what God asked him to do. That's just the building part. We ain't even got to gathering everything and everybody that need to be on the boat.
To have the knowledge to decipher male and female species of
So
all kinds.
yeah, yeah, like your obedience.
That's just part
Add
of it.
more,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
add
ahead,
more,
Looney.
add more to that.
Yep. Go ahead.
He
Because
didn't
I
have to go and pick them all up. It's not like he went around and it was like an Uber and it's like, hey, y'all get in.
no
No,
sir.
they
Pulled
knew
up.
when
It pulled up.
they pulled up.
Yeah.
You don't have to search for them. I'm going to bring them to you. Yes, you have an impossible feat by building a boat that nobody could mentally picture. And I'm telling you to do a task that nobody could physically do. But if you just have that little bit of faith and build that boat, I'll bring you everything else. I'll have everything else for you.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah. We gotta do it. We can't run away. I'm gonna tell this the last thing I'm gonna say on here. I'm gonna go into several events and they all tie in. And it's crazy. When I left Chicago, moved to Houston, I was taking a break from coaching and I was working in a college. And not as a coach, I was working in college, academic financial advisor and clinical coordinator. And I started working to get my teaching certificate because it had actually been placed in my heart to teach before I even left Chicago. I had looked into it and the road to do so, Steve, I remember this. The road to do so is a little bit more complicated back in Illinois. You can't just go
Yep.
through another program and get your certificate. I was going to have to go back to school. And I just couldn't figure out how to get it into the schedule. And then I saw what the path was here in Texas. And I had people asking me in my role at the college, uh, do you teach? Are you a professor? Because I was in charge of doing meetings and talking to potential students that weren't even admitted yet, but educating them on financial aid, educating them on the program, just the way I presented everything. I often got that question, are you a teacher? Are you a professor? And Steve, know being a professor was actually one of my goals as well.
Mhm.
And a coworker switched gears and got her teaching certificate. And she left and started teaching in high school. Fast forward, we was real cool. And somehow we reconnected as I was going through the program. And she was like, oh, they ain't got a position for you. So I sent over your resume. When you gonna be done with the program? Time and all worked out. Got an interview. And I was like, I wasn't even checking to coach again. I was like, I'll get in first and kind of see how I play out. And honestly, I was just excited to get into a classroom. Get to the interview, hit it off the principal. Shout out Miss Michelle. Love it. We talked for a long time, well over the time we were supposed to. And she was like, yeah, I wanted you to meet with the athletic coordinator, head football coach. You still got some time, coach? I was like, she called me coach, right? I was like, hmm? And this wasn't discussed beforehand. She's like, yeah, spot opened up. I saw it all in your resume.
Yep.
And she's all surprised you didn't ask. I was like, I wasn't really checking for it, to be honest with you. I mean, I miss it, but just excited to get into the classroom. And that just flowed. I ended up coaching football. And my first year there. That was kind of hand delivered to me on a platter. And then fast forward, I wanted to coach track. I just volunteered the first year, so I just went out to the practices and helped with the jumpers. That opened the door. I ended up getting on the track staff the next year ended up meeting Luna. And look where we at today. Now I'm not done. So with some changes that went on, the environment wasn't as favorable as it started out. And so I decided I was gonna switch gears. Let me step away from coaching, get some time back, lead a whole school system. Let me tackle some business ventures I want to tackle. And everything written up, Steven seen my original business plan. Like, I don't just be talking, I be typing. I be reading, I be researching. And things just weren't flowing as simple as they flowed when I got into that school. So in our natural minds, what do? We try harder. That's if we like that, we work harder. Especially my
Yep.
athletes. If you played at a high level too, that's why everybody try to hire college athletes. That's how we built. It ain't working.
Try
We
it
gonna try
again.
to fit a square into a circle.
Try it again.
We gonna
Do it
keep
again.
going.
Right.
Yeah. And I end up in sales. Let me go back to the sales. I'm like, business ain't picking up the way I wanted it to, as fast as I wanted to. And I was like, let me get this job and it'll free up some time and I can work on this in the meantime, in between time. But that job didn't give me the time I thought I was gonna have. So that job ended up eating up more time. Then the money looked like it was gonna be very rewarding, but there was a lot of ups and downs. And then fast forward, I was like, several people, I think Steve even mentioned it, without me even mentioning all the struggles I was going through. Several people was like, yeah, I thought about teaching again. I was getting asked about that by multiple people. You thought about teaching again? I actually had several people call me up about coaching again. Like, where you at now? People I coached with before, where you at right now? Oh, we're looking for, heard so-and-so looking for a safeties coach or so-and-so looking for, a head track coach or whatever. That was popping up. So I'm just like, I'm kind of going against Luna's coincidence thing. But in reality, in my mind, deep down inside, I'm like, ain't no coincidences. I'm hearing from all people that ain't even connected to talk to each other.
Telling you the same thing.
Same thing. So finally, I started looking and I applied to this couple middle schools. That was one of my references. I'll let them know. I said, apply here, apply. And actually, the first school I applied to, there was a hold and there was some budget cuts. So they weren't interviewing for a while. And I called about a couple other coaching jobs. I'm trying to remember the timeline now. opportunities started opening up as I decided to head back to the school.
To move in the direction he originally gave you.
What does that mean? Ain't no coincidence. That's that guy right there, son. You you didn't had your time, you didn't did your dance. Now it's time to come back home.
You know what I equate that to, bro?
What is that?
I had a trip that I had to take because I travel pretty frequently, as most of you guys know. I travel pretty frequently for work. I had a trip that I had to take, so I turned the GPS on. Like I got to my destination, I got to the hotel. I drove from the hotel to the shop, so I knew exactly where the shop was. It's like, okay, cool. It ain't that far. It's not that bad.
Mhm.
Go ahead and go get some sleep. Wake up in the morning, get there like 6:30. I got to the site at like 7. Anybody know me? I'm especially with audits. Like I'm there. I'm there before anybody. Like, I'm there. I'm waiting at the door, waiting for you to unlock the door. I got there at 7 because I turned the GPS off, thinking I could make it myself. Because it was only like 2 streets. Yeah, I turned 6 times. so so again, like it's like again, we gave you the direction.
Yes.
You know the direction. Then you start trying to do it by yourself. And then you get lost.
You
Then you
cut
turn
it back
GPS
on.
back on and you're like, oh, I was literally right here. It was right around the corner.
And you
Right.
you know
So
what's
just
funny? I
straight
cut the
route.
GPS back on. I took the job at the place I first applied to when I thought it was gone, and they called me out of nowhere. And I was setting up an interview with another school, and then another school called me, and I had took this job. I even had high school call me like later while I was, matter of fact, the same day I was on the phone. Funny thing, I remember this morning I was out running errands, and I got a call from a high school, asked me if I was still looking. I had already took the job where I'm at now. And I was like, no. I'm pretty much like, I'm not looking more. I took something.
Mhm.
I get a call maybe like a hour to 2 hours later from our athletic coordinator, which I had already been told. And I told them in the interview, they was like, are you looking to coach? They made that assumption. They said they didn't need any coaches. They just asked because they saw it all on my resume. But I think they was more so concerned, like, if you're looking to coach, we don't have none right now. And I was like, no, I'm just trying to get in the classroom. Different flow from when I first got into teaching, right? So
Mhm.
I was like, took the job. I was like, man, I'm gonna be a real teacher. I'm gonna go home after school and everything. Not just a coach. That ain't what God called me to do. Not just that. Because this same morning I turned down an interview. I got a call from the AC. It's so and so. It's Coach Gaston Watkins. I'm the athletic coordinator. Uh, yeah, Miss Lagarde sent your resume, pass it over to me, and uh, I've seen this before. I see you coach high school. I don't know if you're trying to, get your time back because he had coached high school before. We all know what high school looked like. London had talked about it. Yes, we were trying to escape it.
Everybody's
So,
trying to escape.
and he jumped into that immediately, just like, look, I don't know what your family life is and all of that, but wanted to see if he was open to coaching 7th grade. Look, man, we got to here by 5, like getting it all out on the table immediately. And I was like, no, you correct. I'm definitely not looking for them high school hours. But I said, let me think about it, go home, talk about it. And talk it over. I look at the stipend. I'm like, the time ain't crazy. It's a few extra dollars a month. All right. And
Let's
and
go.
and I knew right away, even when I said I need to talk it over, I'm like, GPS. Kind of like what you're saying is like
Lined up.
you were told that it was sold up. They had the coaches they needed, and a spot opens up that I didn't even say I was checking for.
Because he knows the direction, bro. Better than you do.
right there. And I looked back and I was wearing one of my Coach Life shirts. And I was in the car, I just looked down.
That's what you're supposed to be.
Sure enough. And so, dog, that ain't it. I got like 2, 3 more calls about these spots I didn't even apply for, about coaching position from coaches that I know, but I'm not even super close to. Hey, I want to know if you still coaching woo woo. Hey, we got this safeties head track coach position. I'm like, oh my God. Yo. And I'm
Picky
like, man,
pick.
that's way. Nah. But then I had to check myself too, because then it's like with the direction, you gotta have discernment. As Luna just said, he was talking to me about discernment in our group message. You gotta know what's it and what's not it. It's gonna be a lot of things that look good
Fool's
in that
gold.
interview, in that environment. But the school I'm at now, and I see it so much up until this point, this is where I was supposed to be. This group of kids, uh, is who I was supposed to be with. Challenging, but I've, you know,
You're supposed to be speaking to one of them because one of them's supposed to be
oh,
doing
I didn't
something.
already had several flat out tell
Yep.
me like they be saying crazy. They be like, man, coach, where you be coming up with all these wise words? You always got something slick to say, woo woo. And then some of them joke, they be like, hey man, y'all gotta listen to Ump. But I done already seen some kids only a couple months in do like 180s. And
Exactly.
one of them flat out told me, Luna as an educator too, it's gratifying to get those letters you get from kids, or they open up and tell you like, thank you.
You changed my life.
They let and to hear that from a 7th or 8th grader this early, I'm like, that's some speed right there. We know working with some rough kids that's a quick turnaround.
Very
To be
much
like,
so.
I'm a try harder. What you said, it meant something to me. And so, man, when you hear them, you got to be obedient, man. So when I got them other calls, he was talking to me. I was like, nah, I ain't gonna even entertain it. I ain't gonna go no interview. Like, no.
You know what I find fascinating about this, and before we wrap up, because I want to ask a different question, kind of on par but not on par with how we usually end. But I definitely want to ask this question because these last 7, 8 pods that we've done have been very, very, very insightful. Very insightful. At least for me, they have. I know they've been insightful for you guys as well. Um, what has been one of the most rewarding aspects for you guys in hosting this podcast thus far?
Mm,
Um, for me, man, it's made me more comfortable with vulnerability.
Mm.
Um, because if you work with me, you will never see this side of me. I don't talk about, especially in the jobs prior. You'll never see me talk about my faith or things like that because again, I wore it. You could see it as an accent on me, but this also made me have to hold myself accountable. That I can't be a person who talks about coach life. Um, and a lot of the topics and the things that we discuss, I can't treat it as a hobby. to talk about these things and talk about these things as gossip, um, I have to almost treat it like gospel. So I have to be obedient and I have to practice these things and I have to take these practical steps and and now I have people that are on this same journey with me. And it's so cool, bro, when we in our group chat and we talk about the interactions that we have and certain things and like how it just in it like it's all intertwined and how it connects and like a video that you may send or a video that Wash may send or a video that I may send kind of like meets us in the current exact space that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not again, that's not coincidence, bro. Like that's divine. And the more and more we just explore and let God take control, it's like the more is being revealed. And it's like the slow opening of a curtain. A curtain, we have no idea what's behind that
Mm-hmm.
curtain. But we know that that curtain is slowly opening more and more and more and more. And the requirement of that curtain to continue to open more and more and more is requirement of our obedience. And faith is literally believing on what's on the other side of that curtain, no matter what it is. Doesn't matter what it is.
100%. Could be death behind that curtain. There's a reason for it. There's a
Obedient.
reason for it. Just be obedient. Play play your role. Play your role. I think that's the best way to kind of sum this up is learn how to play your role and understand that you have an obligation to play your role. I think that's another thing an obligation and a responsibility to play your role. If you're given, and I think Coach Wash, you said it beautifully. If you've been given trials and tribulations, there's a reason why you've been given those trials and tribulations. Somebody else needs to probably hear that. And it's funny because you said that, Coach Washley. You said you may have blood on your hands for not sharing that info.
Absolutely.
And of
You
course, that's an
told,
extreme, you know what I'm saying? That's an extreme
yes,
example. You know,
100%.
Yeah.
100%. That's
for
definitely
some
the
of us, it
extreme
may be
version of it.
sensitive to hear something like that. It's an extreme analogy, but it's truth
It's
behind it.
so much truth in that. And it's so much truth in that, Coach. I don't want to even diminish that. Yes, it's extreme, but you need to hear the extreme. You need to
Correct.
understand that if you don't have those conversations, somebody may say, you know what, I can't deal with this. I can't deal with life. I can't deal with, with this particular situation. And you may share something that may turn their whole mindset around. But may say, you know what, that actually does make sense. I actually
Yeah.
think I can do this now. So super important, and I'm happy the way that this pod shaped up because again, just being natural, organic, and from the heart, and having these open, honest conversations about the positivity in spreading that. But again, if you like what you heard, smack that like, subscribe button if you want to hear more. Until the next time, family, stay positive, my friends.